I am Anil Pathak. I am the author of Interact, a comprehensive communication textbook. In this series to improve communication skills, today I am going to talk about one important part of communication skills, and that is how do we improve our communicative personality. You will agree with me that many times in our real life, we talk about a person who is more or less communicative. We admire some people and we say that he or she has got a real communicative personality. Or sometimes we talk negatively about somebody and we say he or she is not so communicative. Now, this personality, of course, can be developed. And today we are going to see a model which is very useful to systematically develop this communicative personality. So today's our topic is how do we improve our communicative personality? And I'm going to introduce you to a very useful model in communication science, which is called the model of Johari Window. Now, this model was developed long ago in 1950s by two researchers who are popularly called as Joe and Harry. And that is why the name of the model, Johari Window. The model is simple, but it's very effective in its use. Now, when I teach this model to my students, what I ask them to do is to describe their personality using the four labels which are used in the model. Now, you can do the same. Now, what you need to do is you need to take a simple piece of paper and fold it like this so that it has four parts. One is the cover, there are two insides, and then there is a back cover. Now, these four parts we are going to use to describe our own personality using the Johari window. The Johari window has four quadrants, which of course has four labels, which we can use to describe our own personality. The first label is called arena. So on the cover of your little booklet, you can write arena. The inside pages of your little booklet, you can use these two labels. One is blind spot and the second is facade. And the fourth label, which will be your back cover, you can call that unknown. Now, these are the labels which are used by Joe and Harry in their original model, which is called Johari window. So once you got these four parts, today we are going to talk about these four parts. How do they describe your communicative personality? Now, most of us, when we communicate, we use these four quadrants. And of course, those four quadrants vary. Let's talk about the first quadrant. The first quadrant is called arena. Now, arena has information which is known to everybody. For example, when people see us, they know how we look like. They know the color of my hair, for example. They know whether I use glasses or not. And probably they also know my name after a little bit of introduction. So this information is, we can call this public information, which is known to almost everybody. Now, this information which is known to everybody, sometimes we wonder how much information should be known to public, to everybody, or even to our relatives and friends. And so we try to control this information. Now, unfortunately, we don't have any systematic measure of how much information we should reveal to our friends and how much information should we reveal at different stages of relationship. For example, let's say I just met a friend, I just made a friend, and we are still new in our relationship. Now, how much information should I disclose to my friend? If I disclose too little information about myself, then our relationship, our friendliness will not grow. If I disclose too much information, then possibly it might be dangerous to me in future because I don't know in which direction the relationship is likely to go, and I don't know much about the trustworthiness of my friend. And so we always toggle between these two areas. We try to give information, we try to withhold some information, and we are never sure whether we are doing the right thing. Now, later on, we are going to talk a little bit more about that. How do we decide whether the information which we use is relevant or not, or whether the information which we disclose is optimal or not? But before that, let's talk about the four quadrants. The second quadrant which we are going to talk about is blind spot. Now, blind spot, this has information which is known to others but unknown to me. Now, this is a slightly dangerous area. So, for example, let's take the example of a salesman. Now, this salesman might think that he or she is very useful to the customer and he is providing interesting and engaging information to the customer. But the customer might think that the salesman is too pushy, the salesman is too persuasive, the salesman talks a lot, and the customer may not give this information to the salesman. So the salesman has a blind spot, and that blind spot can be dangerous to the salesman. Because if the customers have a negative opinion about the salesman's personality, the salesperson might lose his or her customer and also the sale. And so if we try to get more information about ourselves, which belongs to the other party, that might be useful to improve our communication personality. The third area in Johari window model is called facade. Now, facade is actually front, and this term is actually taken from the Roman architecture. So, facade is actually front, it's not the real face. We can interpret it as unreal face, a front that we have created. So, usually, when we talk to the other party, it is considered decent not to really disclose who we are in the beginning and create a facade. And so facade has information that is known only to me. So it is exactly opposite of blind spot. Blind spot has the information which is known to others about me, and I don't have that information. Now facade is exactly opposite. That means I know something and I'm going to keep that information to myself. I'm not going it to reveal to others. So this information is known only to me. And this is, of course, a hidden part of our communicative personality. Now, although the word hidden is negative, but in reality, we can't actually disclose everything to everyone. And that is why we are actually going to keep this area. We need this area because without this area, our communicative personality will not be fully developed. So what we said was the blind spot is dangerous. We try, if my students, for example, or for the salesperson, if his or her customers have some information about them, then it's better to get that information. On the other hand, in facade, I need to keep some information to myself. I can't disclose everything to everybody. Now, the last area is again dangerous, and that is called unknown. Now, this information is known to no one. Now, although we think that we know everything about human mind, especially my mind, but really speaking, there are lots of areas of my own personality which I don't know about. And sometimes people discover that at a later stage of their career. And sometimes even the other people in your life, your relatives and your friends and your parents, even they may not know about your personality. Let me give you one example. Let's say there is a doctor and he is an excellent doctor, but really speaking, he is also a very creative person. And that creativity is, of course, hidden because he is a very successful doctor. But later on, and nobody has that information, nobody knows that he is actually a better artist than a doctor. Now, this artistic trait is unknown information. It's known to no one, but it's there. The artistic personality is hidden and it is suppressed because of this person's success in medical practice. Now, if that person explores his inner personality, and one way to do that is through meditation, for example, and continuous meditation practice might help to explore these dark areas of our personality. And only if we actually try to enlighten this area, we try to reduce the darkness in this area, then our communicative personality will be more meaningful, it will be more complete. Of course, it's not possible to totally delete this area. There will be, of course, some information which is unknown to me about my own self. And that's all right, as long as this area is not too dark, not too dangerous, and not too broad, our communicative personality is going to be healthy. Okay, so we actually introduced these four areas, and now I'm going to give you some examples which I have given in my book of these four personalities. So let me read from my book Interact. Now, the first example is of a person called Kramer. So Kramer has recently started working as a trainee engineer at Network Systems International. And what happened to Kramer was he missed the deadline for an important work assignment, and the boss may not be very happy about this. So this is a common situation. So Kramer works as an engineer. He was given a task and a deadline, and he missed the deadline. It happens to all of us. Now, what is the communication game being played here? What the boss does not know is that Kramer missed the deadline because some senior members of his team did not cooperate with Kramer. And so what is happening here is this particular area known to all, that is being reduced. So Kramer missed the deadline, that information is known to all. But what information is not known to the boss? It's only known to Kramer, that he missed the deadline not because of his fault, but it was actually the fault of senior members, because he wanted to get some information from the senior members, and these senior members did not provide that information to him. Now this information is only with Kramer. Now the question, should Kramer provide this information to the boss? Should he reduce this area, and this information then can go into the large area, which is arena, which is known to all? Now, usually people don't behave that way. So since the senior members did not follow the deadlines given to them, there was very little Kramer could do in order to complete the project in time. So members of Kramer's team are senior professionals, and he did not wish to displease anybody, and that's why he doesn't want to give this information to the boss, that look boss, these senior members are not cooperating with me, because he thinks that if he does that, then he might offend or insult the senior members of people. And so what he does is the arena actually gets reduced. The boss does not have some information, and the information is actually in this area. It's only known to Kramer that it's not my fault, it's actually the fault of the senior members. Now, finally, what Kramer actually decides is this. So, finally, he decided to meet up with the boss and explain to him these facts. So, he went to the boss and he said, look, this is what has happened. Although I missed the deadline, I'm sorry, but it was not entirely my fault. I was supposed to get information from these people in my team. They did not provide this information. I don't want to blame them, but I just want you to have this information. It's a good strategy. What do you think? Is it a good strategy? Or do you think that that will actually displease the senior members of his team? It will displease, definitely, but at the same time, ultimately, this is a good communication strategy, because in this case, hiding that information might go against Kramer's career. If he wants to work in this company for a long time, then naturally his relationship with the boss is important. The impression that he creates with the boss is important, and that is why he needs to share this information to the boss. What is important important is how does he share this information. So if he adopts a blaming tone, if he blames the senior people, then that is not going to go very well with the boss. But if he says that, boss, I don't want to blame anybody. Since I am the leader in this project, I am going to take entire responsibility. And I am sorry that I missed the deadline. But at the same time, I would like to share this information with you so that in our relationship, there is no information that is hidden. There is no information which is only known to me. And since you are also a member of my team, you are the boss, and that is why I would like you to have that information. Then Kramer is actually having or displaying a fully communicative behavior. And so with this example, we can conclude that really speaking, when we say communicative behavior, it is not just giving all the information all the times. You need to find the right timing, you need to find the right words, you need to find the right person, and you need to find the right reason to give that information. If Kramer does that, then we can say that Kramer has handled the communication situation very well, and he has displayed a strong communicative personality. So we have only talked about one particular angle, one particular quadrant of the Johari window model, and I have actually shown you that if you have a full understanding of this model and you use this to analyze your own communicative personality, and then you can systematically use that model to improve your communication behavior and also your communication personality in such tricky situations which actually Kramer faced. The exercise which you should do is, since you have these four quadrants, you should actually list all the information. So for example, information which is on the cover page, which is known to all. If you actually list all the information which your colleagues have, which your friends have, which your relatives have, and then you might find that probably you are disclosing too much information to them. And in that case, what you need to do is you need to reduce this area, because this area is good, but it can't be too large. It can't also be too small. You need to keep this area optimal. On the second inside page of your little booklet, what you can do is you can actually talk about, you can actually think about the blind spots and list them here. So you can say, you can analyze how much information is there to the other party. So you can talk to your spouse, you can talk to your friend, you can talk to your customers, you can talk to your students and ask them what they think about your communication behavior. So it is important to get feedback. Ask them, do you think I am too pushy? Do you think I get angry very quickly? Do you think that I reveal too much information? Do you think that I talk too much? Do you find me sometimes boring? Right? If you ask these questions, get feedback, then this blind spot will reduce. And so getting feedback is very important. The third area, which is facade, that area is only known to me. And so I need to communicate more, because it's not good to keep a lot of information about my relationship only to myself, but I should give optimal information to others. And so I need to communicate more if my facade area is too large. To do that, I need to list all the information which is known only to me. And if I think that I am hiding too much from others, then I need to communicate more. And so you need to do this exercise. The communication experts can't analyze, can't advise you about this, because this is more of a self-assessment. And the last area which we talked about was unknown. Now this area we said is dangerous because nobody has this information about you. Even you don't know this information about yourself. And so if you explore your personality more, be conscious about your own communicative behavior, increase your self-awareness, meditate more, then possibly this area can be enlightened. The darkness in this area can be reduced, and that will help you to have an optimal and a meaningful communicative personality. Today we talked about Kramer's example. In my book, I have given examples for each quadrant, and these case studies actually help us to realize how if we don't use optimal communicative personality, that might that might actually increase the difficulties in our real life situations, such as Kramer's. And so many times people who don't get promotions, people who don't advance in their careers, people who can't maintain meaningful relationships either with their friends, their relatives, their parents, or even with their spouses. The problem is communication. And although communication is a two-way process, but as long as we are concerned, we need to keep our communicative behavior optimal. We need to enlarge our uh, we need to enlarge our unknown area. We need to reduce our blind spots. And if we do that, then our communicative personality will be more meaningful, and it will help us to get rid of many of the problems in our relationships. So I hope you read my book, you read the examples of the Johari window, and those case studies will help you to improve your communication in real life.